Hi my loves, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jess from BehatiLife, and I was working with a client earlier today, and her question was about moving out of this space of like childlike energy into adulthood. And as I was looking into her cards and her energy and working with my intuition, this message came through, and I felt that it was so important that I should come on here and talk to you guys about it and share this message with you if you needed to hear it. We have this perception that as we get older and as we become more mature and adult-like, that we have to then grow up in a lot of ways, and everybody is different, especially if you have Capricorn in your chart. A lot of Capricorn energy or Saturn energy in your chart, that will force you to come across very reserved. But being like mature, when we say that word, we have a certain image. And if we see someone who is creative or playful or flirty or sexy, then we sometimes look at them as not responsible, not committed, not mature. So what we end up doing is pushing away that childlike energy, because society wants us to, in order for society to perceive us as responsible, we have to look and do and be a certain thing. But that childlike energy is so important. And it's even found within the astrology chart, and the childlike energy is connected most times to the 5th house. And the 5th house rules creativity, creation, expression, having fun, sex, flirting, dating. And it's really important that we have that. It's really important that we have all of these aspects within our lives. From 8th house matters, which are really intense and dark, and 12th house matters, from everything to like the sixth house, which is all about like day to day and our pets and our well-being and our service, how we take care of ourselves, and how that impacts our health and our longevity. All of these pieces, we always have to have balance with everything, and you don't have to compromise being an adult and having this childlike energy. But in this case, this person was concerned that her her childishness and her playfulness was detrimental to her being an adult and being responsible and mature, when in reality that's not actually the case. What happens for a lot of people is that as we grow up as children, and I said this in a recent video, life energy, the universe tends to kind of find this space within us. And when I say universe, I'm talking positive and negative, so good experiences and bad experiences, but they tend to find us when we're vulnerable. And usually that's when we're working with child energy, and when we're working with our wounded child, and when we're most vulnerable. For many of us, or for a lot of us, I'll say that, when you're growing up, the voices and the guidance that is around you during that time, and the good things and the bad things that happen, help to shape up how you perceive things and how you talk to yourself as you become an adult. And for many of us, some of the voices that are around us could wound us, or some of the events that are around us wound us, and we carry those battle scars with us into adulthood, and that shapes up in a lot of ways, the blessings that we allow ourselves to receive and what we allow ourselves to do in this life. Let's say you're in a household where you've got Queen of Swords or King of Swords energy reversed, and this is like tarot references, and this is when you see people who use their words and use how they treat others in a way that is not in its highest form. So this is people who say things that they don't give a shit about your feelings, and are not nurturing or accommodating or compromising, and don't prioritize you, or if they do prioritize you, it's the way that they say stuff comes across very harsh. So that's how they raised you, or that's the environment that you were raised in, and that then becomes the voice that you hear even as an adult, not even realizing that your thoughts are a mirror image of the voices and the way that you were treated as a child, and it's hard for you to kind of break away from that. So that's just an example, but you don't realize that that wounded child, that wounded child perspective, that wounded child inner dialogue is what is shaping up your life. and your habits and what you choose to do every day and what love you choose to receive and how much love you choose to give to others, even if you yourself are an infinitely loving being, which you are. So because of how you were raised, or because of this trauma, because you were hurt by it when you were vulnerable, when you were most vulnerable, for most of us when we were children, then you grow up and you learn how to protect yourself and guard yourself from going into a space that is going to, like, you learn how to react to your environment in a way that allows you to survive it. But survival mode is not thriving mode. If you study the charts, and if you study spirituality, and if you do deep diving, you'll realize how important it is for the fifth house and for childlike energy and childlike innocence to prevail and to have freedom to express itself. You'll see that the most successful people, this is how important it is, and how much it ties into even your success and your blessing and abundance that you're able to receive, because it connects to your ability to love yourself. So if you block, and if you're not open to receiving the abundance because of this inner child, you will never be able to be in a space where you allow yourself to be creative, where you allow yourself to be expressive, where you allow your gifts to be shared with the world, so no one can ever see them, no one can ever invest in them, no one can ever give to them. So you'll just stay in this space of like stagnation and blockage instead of abundance and receiving. And that's the other thing too, when you look at the astrology chart, and if you look at spirituality and just energy in general, so giving and receiving, masculine and feminine energy, there has to be a balance in your life of everything. Masculine and feminine energy. Masculine is about doing, feminine is about receiving. And when the wounded child is in a space where, for many, especially women, when the wounded child is in a space of pain and ache and suffering and never has a chance to heal, we either do too much, masculine energy, off balance, or we don't allow ourselves to receive, or we give too much, which is the feminine energy, off balance. And what I want to remind you, and what I told my client in this moment during this reading, is to not run away from this childlike energy and this childlike innocence, because that childishness energy is so important as an adult, and it's so important for you to balance it and to bring it into and incorporate. You should never be smothering or pushing out any of your natural essence, because all of it is important and essential to you thriving as a human being and being able to share your gifts here on earth, whatever your gift is, multiple gifts for many of us, and for all of us actually. So if you're able to balance being responsible and being mature, and meaning like taking accountability for your actions, doing what it is that you need to do, with being a child and having that childlike innocence, that purity and that freedom of expression and the ability to play and to be flirty and to have fun, what you have is a awesome life, because you're able to have people count on you. You're able to build up without having to sacrifice fun and flirt and creation and expression. And when you look within the fifth house, within the astrology chart, the fifth house rules children, creativity, expression, and also sex and dating. And those are really important parts to this life. If we didn't have the adult side, meaning like commitment, structure, and responsibility, then we wouldn't be able to have the ability to carry out our hobbies and to pursue our hobbies with longevity, especially when it comes to, taking relationships, because dating, taking it to the next level and making commitments and investing in that. Maybe taking a project, a hobby, and investing in that and turning it into a business, your passion. So you see the combination of childlike creation and creativity and expression matching and merging with Saturn energy, which creates longevity and business. Longevity and structure and stability, so for long-term reward. So all that being said, if you block your childlike energy and you block your childlike spirit, what you're essentially doing is blocking your inner light. And that inner light is so important because, number one, that's your voice. Number two, that's your creative expression. And all of those things are really important. And that divine light and that love is within each of us. And if you block the childlike energy, you're essentially smothering out that ability to share your light and to have fun with that light. The other thing that's important to mention is that if your 5th house energy, so that childlike energy and that self-love and that expression, if it gets dinged and if it's wounded, then you block your ability to receive abundance and you block your ability for self-love, and the two of those are so connected. If you're not in a space where you're able to love yourself and to give to yourself, you know, and take a step back and stop doing and being in a position to receive, because a lot of times with self-love, when you'll find that people who do not love themselves, not even realizing that they're not acting out of love for themselves or they don't love themselves, they keep finding themselves in a position where they're doing. They're always doing for others, they're always giving to others, but they never allow themselves to receive. It's because they, in their mind, think I'm not worthy of this, or I don't deserve it, or whatever the case is, or no. But you would give to others, but you can't allow yourself to receive. And what you're doing essentially is blocking your own abundance. You're blocking wealth. You're blocking blessings that are coming to your life. And all of that comes from the 5th house. So you want to look at, well, it's a combination of things within the astrology chart. I'm not talking about astrology specifically. I'm talking about spirit. I'm talking about energy, and I'm talking about wounded child, like inner child healing. So when you get into a space where you allow yourself to receive because you are comfortable with childlike energy and innocence even as an adult, and you're comfortable with expressing yourself, and you're comfortable with who you are, and when you're comfortable with putting yourself out there and being free and being unique and having fun and being flirty and even sex, because the 5th house is connected to sex in a lot of ways, and dating, when you're able to be comfortable with those things, and it doesn't mean be reckless with it, but when you're comfortable with it and you're able to express yourself and to give and receive, you're able to be an abundant receiving and successful and thriving human being. And you also, in every action that you take, you're taking time to heal and address not only the inner child in this moment, even as an adult, because we all still carry that inner child energy with us, even as we're 60, 80, 90 years old, 120 years old, but you're healing the wounds of the past, the things that have happened to us and happened to you as you were growing up as a child. So it's really important that you take that time out to work with feminine energy, which is receiving, that you work and allow the inner child to express itself and to be silly and creative, and how important that is for you as an adult. And then also to be open to abundance and blessings by just being who it is that you are, and how important it is to give to that, because you're nurturing the wounded child within you. You're nurturing the inner child within you by at least like being in that space of creativity and expression and freedom and fun and flirtatiousness, all those things that I mentioned. So I hope that makes sense for you guys. Feel free to share this message with those who need it. And thank you so much. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, because there's way more where this came from. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.